Hi everyone, my name's Kenan Malik. I'm a London-based writer. It's quite a lineup to have to follow all that. It's a great pleasure and honour to be able to participate in this gathering. My thanks to Deeyah, to Fuuse, to the organisers for allowing me to inviting me to here. It's an even greater pleasure and honour to be able to introduce and to be able to talk to Nawal El Saadawi, who I will be talking to in a minute. She is irrepressible, I suppose. I was trying to think of the best word I could find. She is wonderful, irrepressible. As you know, she's one of the great writers and activists in the world. Over 7 decades, incredible 7 decades, she's written nearly 50 books. And in that time engaged in struggle over women's rights, over justice, over equality, democracy. She's been arrested, imprisoned, exiled, faced death threats, and never wavered in that commitment to justice and equality. So please welcome Nawal El Saadawi. Thank you. I ought to warn you, by the way, that Nawal doesn't quite, that my British accent isn't quite to Nawal's liking, so I hope we have a conversation.
Please slow down your British accent. Okay.
I'm not American enough. One of the mottos, I think, that one of the phrases of yours that I remember best is the idea that to be creative, one must be a dissident. That seems to express your life. What does it mean for you to say, to be creative, one must be a dissident?
Well, I think we are all born creative, and we are all born dissident. But what happens to us? That's as far as I remember my childhood. I was born rebelling, not satisfied with injustices. I want to do something different. So I was rebelling, and I wanted to do something of my own mind, creative. And all the children around me were like that. But what happens? At home, they stop us, the father and the mother and the relatives. And then when we go to school, they stop us. So we stop to be creative, and we stop to be dissident. And we become what we are, you know. We adapt. So that's the problem. Because I don't think creative people are unique, or that they have certain genius characters. I don't believe in that. But our creativity, our dissidence is killed when we are child. In every country, I'm not speaking about Egypt. I'm speaking about every country in the world. Of course, the degree of killing the creative mind and the rebelling and the dissidence differ from one country to the other. But still, we are all in the same boat.
Do you see writing itself as a form of dissidence, as a form of protest?
Can you repeat? Yes. I have a problem with the British accent, so
do you see...
Can you make it Egyptian, a little bit Egyptian?
I will try to be as Egyptian as I can.
He looks very Egyptian to me.
Somewhere in my past.
Yeah, really.
Writing. Do you see writing as itself a form of dissidence, a form of protest?
Well, it depends what do you write. Because there are writers who become millionaires and billionaires, and there are writers who go to prison. It depends what do you write, in fact. If you are writing and praising the president and the prime minister and Obama and Uland and all that, then you will benefit. But if you are really critical to the global system and the local system in the country, then you suffer.
What drew you into writing in the first place?
What?
Drew you? How did you start writing?
Why I started writing?
Why did you become a writer?
Yes, well, writing to me is like speaking, like breathing. It's a normal function. We speak, we use the words, we write on paper, we breathe. So it's a very natural phenomenon to write and to dance. In fact, my dream was to be a dancer. I love dancing. And everybody wants to move the body. We want to move the body, but then they stop us, and especially in our culture. It was forbidden to go to dancing or even to act in the cinema or even. So in order just to express myself, I was left with writing, with the paper and pen. That's what but this was not my real dream. My real dream was to express my mind by my body, to dance.
Have you been able to dance?
Well, when I was young. Now
I am sure you can still...
I can't do it now.
Who are your literary influences?
Who
are your influences?
Where?
Literary influences, your political influences.
Influence,
yeah.
Political influence.
And literary.
And literary.
Yes.
Well, many people affect you in childhood and in school and at home. But when, now when I'm becoming old, I'm above 80 now. So I remember... 84. So now I remember my childhood very well. And the effect of childhood never leave us. Childhood stay with us and inspire us. So when you ask me this question, what really had impact on me, it was my grandmother, who was illiterate and peasant. She was working with her hand in the field. And I was little like that, a girl of 5 or 6 or 7. And I was listening to her. So she gave me the first lesson in Islam, in philosophy, in life. That was my grandmother. And then my mother, and then my father.
And what about Egyptian writers? Are there any Egyptian writers, Arab writers, more broader writers who have influenced you?
Well, there were many writers. I remember Taha Hussein. I read Taha Hussein's autobiography. He was a blind man, a very poor man who came from Upper Egypt. And he was educated in Al-Azhar. But then he rebelled against Al-Azhar and against religions. And he was put on trial. They accused him of being an atheist because he was challenging the mainstream Islam at that time. And I was young. So he wrote his autobiography. So I was affected by him. I think he was the most one who was a little bit rebelling among most of the writers. They were pro the king and pro the government. He was a little bit different. But after that, he had to adapt. But he affected me when I was there. And then other writers, because I went to school, and I remember in the English lesson, we had Jane Eyre, and we have Charlotte Brontë and Jane Austen. So I read that when I was in high school. So I was affected by the Arabic and by the English literature.
One of the features of our time is the idea that we must limit what we say. We must not say things that are offensive, that give offense, that we must respect and tolerate other cultures. What Now, how do you see that? How do you see that change in the way people censor what they write because they don't want to give offense?
I didn't understand exactly what you said.
One of the themes of our age,
yes.
our age, is that we must not give offense. We mustn't offend other cultures, other people.
We should not offend other cultures. This goes with age?
Not with age, of our time, of the times in which we live. It never used to be. When I was growing up, when you were growing up, people were much more willing to offend other people. Now they seem much less willing to offend.
Less. Hypocrisy, because hypocrisy is increasing. I think lying. We are living in a world of lies. In fact, hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. We have to offend people. Of course. Now, this apologetic way, I don't agree with at all. I find everywhere people are brought up never to speak their opinion. It's very hard. I tell her, what is your opinion? She says, well, people say, they usually quote people, but it's very, very rare when they quote their mind. And that's creativity. I was teaching in the when I lived in exile for 20 years in the US, I was at Duke University. And the students never listened to me. Even they never looked at me, because eye contact is forbidden in the United States, you know. Because you have to be polite. You should not offend people by gazing at them. But I gaze at people, you know. You have to gaze, you have to look at people. If you talk to me and you don't look to me, it's an insult to me. It's the opposite in the United States. You have to talk to people and not look to them. This is the problem, my problem. Wherever I go, from Egypt to the States or England, that people cannot be critical. You said they don't want to offend me. I call it criticism. Creativity is very much related to the creative mind. And we lose the ability to be critical since we are children, under the name that we should be polite. We should not offend people, which kills creativity. I am happy when people really criticize my book because they read it seriously and they criticize it. But if they say good words, it's good, it's wonderful, it means nothing. Did I answer your question?
I agree entirely.
And by age, if we come to age, because everybody's speaking about age, I don't know what. I don't feel old. I don't feel old. And I do not... in fact, when people remind me of my age, I am astonished. People ask me this question all the time. You are becoming above 80 or older. Do you become more polite with people or more critical? Do you become more radical or less radical? I say I'm becoming more radical with age, because I am aware of the benefit of criticism. Of course, to be polite, the more you are critical, the more you are polite. So to be critical doesn't mean you offend people. Sometimes you please people by criticism. It's how you criticize them, seriously, literally, intellectually.
I hope that when I'm your age, I'm able to talk and to be able to debate and to be able to be as active as you are. It is a wonderful example for all of us, I think. But I agree with you that I think politeness is overvalued, that there is too much politeness and not enough criticism. And that if you're not critical...
And especially the British people.
That's true.
I'll tell you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I love jokes. For instance, we were colonized by the British, but he's Indian. It is not his problem. And
I might even be Egyptian.
And the British colonized Egypt and India. They colonized you too, under very polite words. Very, very polite, beautiful words. Protection. They said, we are going to protect you. Egypt was colonized and invaded under the word protection. Exactly. I was invaded by 3 husbands under the word protection. Okay.
So do you see marriage a bit like imperialism?
Yes, exactly.
You see marriage as a form of imperialism?
Okay.
Let me talk about, one of the big events. One of the big events recently has been the murders in Paris, in Charlie Hebdo, in the offices of Charlie Hebdo. So what is your view on what happened?
Let me be frank with you. This issue of Charlie Hebdo in Paris, every day we have accidents worse than Charlie Hebdo. In Charlie Hebdo, 15 people were killed. That's too much. In Egypt, in Sinai, in Syria, in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, hundreds of people are killed every day by terrorism, by political terrorism, American, European, Israeli political terrorism. Using religions, using Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, to oppress people, men and women. So everybody's speaking about Charlie Hebdo, as if nobody was killed except the people of Charlie Hebdo. This is terrible. This is double standards. And we shouldn't, of course, I am very much against killing anybody, white, black, poor, rich, man, woman. But we must have one standard. And the value of life in our countries is very cheap, very cheap. People are killed, nobody speaks about them. But a French man or a French woman or an American or even Israeli man is killed. The whole world is shouting and is angry. So we have to be critical about that.
Let me talk about Egypt.
Yes.
Come back to Egypt. You were there at the beginning of the revolution in Tahrir Square. What was it like to be in Tahrir Square at that time?
Oh, yes. Well, since I was a child, I was dreaming of a revolution. Since I was a child. I was happy when there is war, because I was a child during the World War II. And when I hear airplanes and homes are coming down and the world is vanishing, I am happy, because I am angry with the world. I want the world to finish, to have a different type of life. So I was all the time dreaming of the revolution when I was a child. And I was writing that. And then I participated in Egypt, in primary school, in secondary school, during the medical college. After that, whenever there is a demonstration, I am there. I am there because I want to be among millions who want to change this world. We are very dissatisfied. Anybody who is satisfied with this system, the global or the local, everybody is complaining. So for me, the revolution reminded me of childhood. Though I was almost 80, I was 80 at that time in 2011. And I was among people, and I remembered my childhood. And this brought me happiness. But unfortunately, the revolution in Egypt is aborted. As many, many, many revolutions, it is aborted. Because it was political at the surface. They were just changing faces only. But the system, the capitalist, patriarchal, religious, racist system still there, supported by the colonial powers. So that's the problem. So now we don't have a revolution.
Are you hopeful of the future
Yes.
in Egypt? A lot of people say to me when I talk and ask about the revolution that it's only been 3-4 years, that in time things will change. Are you hopeful too?
I am hopeful, even in the worst situation. I never lose hope. I don't know why. Maybe it's genetic from my grandmother, my grand-grandmother. She was poor and working in the field, and she was laughing all the time. Her life was miserable, but she was laughing, you know. And I think rich people are always miserable. Poor people are happier. Poor people are happier. I don't know why. Anyway, so what was your question? I forgot it.
Well, are you hopeful for the future?
Yes.
Actually, can I? Because we've nearly got to finish. I'd love to talk with you for hours. But,
okay.
But can I ask you, you talk about hope.
Oh, yes.
Where does your hope come from? In moments which seem very dark, which seem very distressing, where do you find that strength, that hope?
Good question. And this will be a very good ending. Because every time they ask me this question, why you are so happy? I am a happy person. All my life is miserable, but I am happy. I don't know why. Maybe because my mind or my philosophy, the word philosophy is good, and I use it sometimes. I don't believe in death, number one. I've seen a lot of people dying through my medical practice. So life and death are one, to me. I'm not afraid of death at all. Because we live, and this kills creativity. We live in fear. Since we are born till we die, we are afraid of illusions. We are afraid of dying. We are afraid of having incurable disease, cancer or something. We are afraid of being poor. We are afraid of going to prison. Before I went to prison, I was afraid of going to prison. But when I went to prison and lived it and loved it, I lost my fear. So we are afraid of the unknown. We are afraid of anything, and that's creativity. Creativity means you are not afraid of the unknown. You can go alone in the darkness, and you speak your mind. That's creativity. Thank you.
I would love to talk to you for hours on end. It's been an incredible experience.
When I come to London.
When you come to London. But thank you so much. It's been an incredible experience. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.